Okay, ready to be let down? I don't know how successful we're going to be in understanding this. This ended up being way more difficult than I thought. So what we're going to do is like this: we're going to read the psukim, okay, raise the questions, which we kind of did last time, and then I have a full approach on half of them from the Metzudas Dovid, and I have half approach on half of it, half of approach on all of it by the Ibn Ezra. Okay, so those are our two things we're gonna focus on here. All right, and we'll get what we get. Okay, we'll see what happens. All right, so let's start with the psukim here. Chapter 3. Yeah. Okay. Let me just set up the old Zoom share screen. Okay. All right. So I think that the unit here is from the chapter 3, pasuk 1 through 15. Okay, but this is kind of part of the question of where do we divide it. Zev, you okay there? Yeah. Are you looking for like? No, we're good. Okay, because I have an extra because Gedolos. Yeah, no, I got it. Okay. All right. All right, so we're not going to read through all of the particulars here, but we got L'Kol Zman Be'ez L'Kol. Oh, sorry, chapter 3, pasuk Aleph. Yeah. All right, so L'Kol Zman Be'ez L'Kol Chavetz Takas V'Shemaim. To everything there's a time, and there is a time for everything for every desire under the heavens. Thanks, Ezra, for sending the song. I don't know if that got stuck in anyone else's head for a couple of weeks. I don't know the song. Oh, the turn, the song with all these psukim. English song. Okay, you got to listen to it and get it stuck in your head. Yeah. Okay, so then we've got all of these times. I don't feel the need to read through them, right? Because we did that last time. All right, then it goes to 9. Ma yisron ha'oseh b'asher hu amel. What gain is there in the one who does in everything that he toils? Okay. So far, so good. Okay. Then it gets complicated. Ra'isi es ha'inyan asher nasan elokim livnei adam la'anos bo. I have seen the occupation which God gave man to be preoccupied with, or I have seen the occupation that God gave man to afflict him with, however we translate la'anos bo, or to answer for. I think someone even said that. Es hakol asa yafeh be'ito. Everything he made beautiful in its time, and that seems to be referring to what he said earlier. Gam es ha'olam nasan b'libam, even the eternity he placed into their hearts. Some do want to say that this olam is the rabbinic usage, which I guess that means practically that they don't know when the term came up, and like they're confident saying that in other areas of Tanakh then it means eternity, but like maybe Shlomo was using it back then. I don't know. But so eternity he placed in their hearts. Okay, this is the confusing part. Mibli asher lo yimtza ha'adam es hama'aseh asher asa ha'elokim mirosh ha'atzov. Without man finding the action or the work that God made from beginning to end. That would get some comments from English teachers there, that whole sentence. Okay. Yadati, I knew, ki ein tov bam, that there's no good in them, ki im lismoach v'lasos tov b'chayav, except to rejoice and to do good in his life. V'gam kol ha'adam shiyocho v'shasav v'ra'a tov b'chol amalo, and also every man who eats and drinks and either does good or has a good time. Those were the two general approaches I think we said last time. In all of his toil, mataz lukim he, it's a gift of God. Yadati, I knew, ki kol asher ya'aseh ha'elokim hu yehi la'olam, that everything God will do will be forever. Alav ein lahosif umimeno ein ligroa. On it one cannot add, and from it one cannot detract. And God made it, I don't know if you have to add a pronoun in there, so that they would fear before him. Ma shahaya kvarhu, that which was already is. Va'asher lihios, and that which is to be, kvar haya, already was. Va'elokim yivakesh es nirdath, and God will seek the pursued.
That's a new ending to a familiar pasuk. The beginning part, wasn't that at the beginning of
the Mashaya? Yeah. Mashaya Hushi, Mashanasa Hushi. Yeah. Good call. Yeah, it did sound familiar. Yeah. Okay, so the question is many. There are many questions here. Okay, so like first of all, what are the divisions here? You know, Aleph through Yud Aleph definitely seems related, but then like the dialogue continues. Like Yadati and Yud Beis seems to be like Yadati as a result of that. The Gam also connects it. Yadati also seems to connect it. And then Mashahaya is like seemingly there. And then Tez Zayin is V'od Ra'isi, and then he introduces a totally new topic. So I'm confident in saying that like 16 is something new. So are there divisions within 1 through 15, or is that all one unit? That's one question. Another question, obviously, is what's the point of all those the aces, right? Like ace letters, ace lamus.
Right.
What is the connection between this and what came before? So reviewing what we ended off with, his conclusion at the end of the experiment seemingly was, according to the Metzudas Dovid, eat, drink, and do tzedakah, which we felt was a little forced. And then my understanding was basically, and Ibn Ezra, I think, also was some idea of a sameach b'chalko type thing, that God gave you all this stuff, and if you don't enjoy it, you're basically just not using it, and it's just going to go to someone else. So, and it's going to, and then if that person doesn't use it, it's going to go to someone else. And the only people basically are people who enjoy what they have, and then there's the chote who gathers and amasses. So either you're seeking just more and more and more and more, and then you're not going to be happy and enjoy it, or you're like enjoying what you have. And so he's saying you might as well enjoy what you have. So the question is like, what's the connection between that and then this? And then he repeats that conclusion in 12, right? Yadati ki ein tov bam ki im l'smoch v'lasos tov b'chayav v'gam kol ha'adam she'yochel v'shasav ra'ad tov b'chol m'lo ma'at ezokim hi. So like, why does he repeat it, or how does it change in light of all the aces in the middle? And then the other big question is like, what are all these sentences that don't make sense? Like, what are they telling us and how do they fit in? So it's really messy and it's really hard. Yeah.
Okay.
You want the pep talk now or later? There's a pep talk about what to do when confronted with something like this. It's a whole pasuk in Mishlei. I'll just give the little bit now, and then like if we need it, we'll like expand on it. But like, I might have mentioned this before, but Shlomo says when he's talking about how to seek chachma, he says you should look for it like hidden treasures and like kesef and matmonim. So I don't know if that's silver or money, and then hidden treasures. And Rabbeinu Yonah gives us an interpretation of like the guy who's looking for hidden treasure knows that like, most places where you dig or look, you're not going to find it. But like what keeps you going is the knowledge that like there is treasure. I don't know how he knows that. I mean, we know it, but and then when you hit it, you're going to hit it big, So like we might have to dig a few holes here.
Right.
Yeah. So you got anything here? Anything at all before we look at our full approach and our half approach?
Well, my first thought about this is that the segue seems to be that everything has a time, and there's a time for every how are we translating chayfetz? Desire, pursuit, and then that's the transition to all of these times. I don't know. Yeah, so I think maybe it's good. Maybe it might be good to think about what all means in this context.
Okay, good. And then not only that, you're pointing out the bracket at the beginning, but he also brackets these at the very end in Tes and in Yod. Ma Yisron Ha'ozeh Basher Hu Amel. That's like the end of this. So that's kind of context. And then Es Hakol Asa Yafa Bito, which I don't know if that's the same Hakol as La Kol Zman, but everything God made beautiful in its time. That's another question also. What's with the beautiful? Like, Yafa is beautiful. I mean, you could translate Yafa as good because people use it slang like that. But I think in Tanakh, it's like beautiful. In fact, let me click on it and see.
New feature.
Yeah. Fair or beautiful. Yeah. Right. Like Yifas Toar, yeah. Yeah. So Isaac has a good move to try to define these, the set, or understand the set in terms of the particulars given.
Also, I mean, just like, what does it mean that like he put eternity in his heart?
Yeah.
What's that about?
Yeah, and we saw part of Ibn Ezra before, which he just said that he makes people feel like they're going to live forever, but which is like that's a lead, but what does that have to do with anything?
Right.
Yeah. Like that fit very well when I quoted it in chapter 2. When I plugged it in there, that fit right into the context about like when he was surprised that he was going to die.
Well, maybe it's contrasting the like what came like all these people came right before about like things just like change, I guess, and like there's like this constant like.
You mean the early psukim?
No, like right, like these.
Oh,
like
these,
the ace,
yeah.
all the ace this, that.
Yeah.
That like, like whatever, like the seasons just kind of go and nothing, it's not like fixed in one state of affairs.
Yeah.
But like it goes from opposite to opposite.
Okay, so let's jump from there right to the full approach. Okay, because that's the closest. So what I'm going to show you now is the closest to the way I've been learning Koheles up until now, but he focuses on that element of it. Okay, so look at Metzudas Dovid. Okay, we're not going to do all of the Metzudas Dovid, just select ones. Let me switch to Metzudas Dovid on the screen. Okay, so we'll start from the beginning, I guess. L'cholzman, Rotelamar, Ein Shum Davar Ba B'Mikra V'Hiz Damin. Oh, sorry. Let me. I forgot to throw out one other thing out there just to get your mind churning. Like everything in Koheles, some say that this is expressing the truth, but then some say that this is expressing a false idea. So that's just something. If your mind is inclined that way, there is someone who says that. Okay, so just to make things more complicated.
This is in the whole Asim?
With the whole ace thing, yeah. The Shadal says that, but Metzudas Dovid seems to be going on the fact that this is true. Okay, so he says, "Lakolzman rotzlamar ein shum davar ba b'mikra v'hiz damin mizman lazulas isman." So nothing comes by chance at one time instead of another. Im bismano ba b'avur siba hakodemis, but it comes in its time based on a prior cause. Okay, now here's where he says the point, which I think is related to what you're making. The point you're making is and there's a time for every desire. Gams lezeh yesh es ki lo b'chol es yachbot b'davar echad. Okay, so for everything that a person desires, there's also a time, because not at all times does a person desire one thing. Ki pam yachbot b'davar ma upam b'chilufo. Sometimes you want one thing, sometimes you want another. Like it explains later on. Tachas hashamayim, under the heavens. L'chol rotelam or l'chol hadvarim hanasim b'zeh ha'olam. Okay, fine, we know that. Now, just we're going to read the first one here. Es laledes. Achshav mefarish hadvarim asher be'es achas chafetz ba u'be'es acharis yachbot b'chilufo. Now he's going to explain the things that a person desires at one time, and at another time he desires its opposite. V'amar be'es achas chavitz adam v'cheshko laledes. Okay, so if you look at these things, some of them are more relatable than others. Like I don't know about the throwing stones thing, but definitely ace live coast, ace live chok. Like if you that's for those who saw the Pixar's Inside Out, right? That was one of the main themes, right? Is that you need all of the emotions, and sometimes some are more desirable than others. Or Is Milchama Be'ez Shalom, right? If you try to make, there's, pieces is definitely good, but like sometimes you need to make war. A time to hug, a time to distance from hugging, right? Yeah. So before we read what he holds the punchline of this is, what would you guess the point he's trying to make is by saying that sometimes you want one thing and sometimes you want its opposite?
Doesn't really matter what you want.
Say again?
Doesn't matter what you want.
Doesn't matter what you want. Why?
That what you want to not happen is still going to happen when it's supposed to happen. And what you do want is going to happen or not happen if it's time for that.
Okay, so the second approach we're going to look at tonight, Ibn Ezra focuses more on that, about the fact that like these things are going to happen when they happen. And it looks, he does say that at the beginning. I read him to be putting more on the, yeah?
It sounds like what he's saying is that when you give you a perspective of when you really want something, there's going to be like it feels all encompassing, but there's times when you actually just will want the opposite or have wanted the opposite, and you
Right.
need it's not you don't necessarily recognize that. So like there's there's times when you there's times where you like want there to be want someone to be healed and and like that's like you think like, oh, why does there have to be death?
Mhm.
But there's the times where it's the reverse, where there's someone who's like really bad, and like you want them like to be dead, or well, I don't know exactly what. I don't have a specific example, but yeah, or, like where you want death, and you're like, and during those times, you don't see that you all that it's natural to like also want the opposite at times.
Okay, I guess I'm still not quite seeing what's the larger point he's making. I see the phenomenon, I see the fact that people don't recognize that, but in the context of his argument, like the argument of the book that the book is making, or the line of reasoning, or like whatever, what is the significance of that point? Yeah, Zev?
Well, I guess if you're looking at like, oh, this, like, if you want this one thing to like give you like sort of like ultimate happiness,
Yeah.
and like, you know, like Yisro,
Yeah.
like this is like a thing that's like gonna make you eternally happy or something.
Yeah.
So you're not gonna get that because, you know, tomorrow you're gonna want
Oh,
something
okay.
totally different.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So I think I also think that's the point. Is this is a quality that every Yisron has, which is that you don't account for the fact that your desires change from time to time. You know, and that he uses opposites because that's the most extreme thing. It's not just like sometimes I'm in the mood for this and sometimes I'm not, but like sometimes you want exactly the opposite of the thing. And the reason why I think he's going through this now is we had the intro to the book, the preface of the book, which is 1 through 10, 11, was it? Yeah, 1 through 11, chapter 1, 1 through 11. Then you had the experiment, which is where he sets forth his thesis and his and how he arrived at it. And this is the intro to the middle of the book. And the middle of the book, as we saw when we did the read through, is a bunch, the whole middle of the book is going to be going through example after example of things that people were looking at as Yisron and then shooting it down. And so this is like a transition to that part of the book where he's going to be exploring particulars, not just what he went through, but like individual particular things, and showing how like this fantasy holds you in this way and this fantasy holds you in that way. And I just to see if we're like imagining this, or I mean, if we were coming up with this on our own, or if this is the way that Metzudas was actually going. Look at Metzudas on Pasuk Tes. Okay, this is after all of the aces. He says, Ma Yisron, Musav Lamala. This refers to above. Lomar hoil v'derech adam asher be'es achas yachbot b'davar ma u'be'es acheres yirtze b'chilufo. So since it's the manner of a person at one time to desire something and at another time to desire its opposite, in kain ma yisron ba la'adam ha'ose b'davar asher hu amel. So then what advantage is the guy who's toiling for something going to get in order to achieve his desire? Isn't there a time for every desire? He might want the opposite another day. And so therefore his toil is for his harm. So it's not, I mean, your point is the main point, but it's not just the fact that like you might change your mind. It's that like all of the toil that you're spending is just going to be a wasted effort, you know? And there's a good midrash that I found in Midrash Rabbah Yud Beis Tes. I don't know if everyone just saw on the screen. I was telling people about this morning. You can take notes on the HaTorah. So I just made a little note here.
Oh, can we see what it looks like? I guess you
can look behind. Yeah. So like if you highlight something, then you go like this, and you do Hosif Hara Ishis. And you can type it there, and then this is what my note looked like. I put it shows up as a little star, so I just linked it to Koheles Rabbah 12:9, and then boom, it takes us there.
Crazy.
Yeah. Okay, so this is you don't have the Midrash Rabbah quoted. I don't think any of the Mefarshim quoted, but it's on the very last time in the book. He says Hava Havalim. So it says, and this is in kind of weird Midrash Rabbah Hebrew. Tane hechazik ashir b'davar tov. Okay, so the ashir clings to something good. The rich person. Tchilaso ra'iv hu lo, and at the beginning he's starving for it. Spoiler alert, he's talking about wealth. Okay, like he wants wealth. Hamis yashin bo, but when he is, it's a weird lashon. Mis yashin bo, when he makes himself grow old on it. I think it just means when he has for a long time. Asa'ul mirmas, he makes it into something just disgusting.
Is it maybe like he toils and like gets gray hair over it?
Oh, that could be. He grows old over it. Makes himself, yeah, he ages prematurely, not prematurely ages, but he ages himself over. Yeah, that's a good translation. Gam ani kidal chelko, so too the poor person when his portion becomes impoverished. Gam enav ligbos mimenu chelek sheme'ez bo ashir. So he wants the thing that the ashir is rejecting. Okay, lazetava ulazetava, both of them have this desire. Shnehem shavim lekever hakol havel. Okay, and both of them are equal in terms of the grave, and everything's havel. Okay, so that last part is kind of from the context of chapter 12. But he's making this point: is like the you got all these poor people who want what the rich guy has, and then the rich guy has that thing. Let's take an extreme example: winning the lottery. Right? Everyone knows that all the lottery winners pretty much like end up losing all the money, or falling into depression, or committing suicide, or having it stolen, or doing something stupid with it. And yet everyone wants to win the lottery, and then the lottery winners wish they never won the lottery. So like I think that's the point it's making, is that this is one of the qualities of Yisroels, is that they're extremely fickle to the point where you will want the opposite. And he's saying this now as a lead into the large portion of the book where he's going to be examining particular Yisroels. Cool. Yeah. Okay. So that is an approach to half of the position we outlined. What he does after that, I don't know. Do you know what's going on there? Should we wait? Is it a terrorist?
Probably not.
Probably not.
We took the code off the door, so it can't be terrorist.
Oh, yeah. I noticed that. Yeah, the problem is the Lomdal code is almost exactly the same, and the wires were crossed in my mind. Okay.
I think our code is the default code.
Oh, don't say that. It's on YouTube forever now. No.
Oh no.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So what do you want to do? Okay. We can either try to extend this approach through the other Pesukim, or we could go to a new approach in the Ibn Ezra. Metzudas?
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure Metzudas or let's do this. Either way. No nafkamina. Okay. All right. So let us. I don't know if it's gonna be more productive to read the Metzudas on the other Pesukim. It's not that many, right? No. Yeah, let's read the Metzudas on the other Pesukim and see if we can make sense. I tried and didn't make sense, but sometimes the magic of shiur, not that we believe in magic, is that like somehow when we're working on it now, or sometimes like the fifth time, then like something clicks. So okay, so we got the pasuk. We just did 9, right? So we're now at 10. Ra'isi es ha'inyan asher nasan elokim livnei ha'adam la'anos bo. I have seen the inyan that let's look at Metzudas Dovid. Ra'isi es ha'davar asher masar elokim livnei adam lihishtamesh bo la'asos oso b'chol es shiurteh. So I've seen the matter that God gave to mankind to utilize and to make it b'chol es shiurteh, or to do it at each time at any time He wants. We don't know what this matter is, do we? No. La'anos bo is Rotzalomar ki'ilu masran biadam la'anos osam. It's as if He put it into their hand to torture them, to torment them with it. Kihim yishtamshu bo la'asoso be'es zulas es, because they will use it at the wrong time. I think that's what es zulas es means. Uvezeh himam unim yusarim al yado, and because of this, they will be afflicted. They will be afflicted by this. Ki'im asam bismanam yafe hayalem, because if they did it in their time, it would be good. It would be beautiful for them. So what does this mean? Maybe he's talking about when he says davar, he means of those particular things. Meaning, if you're looking for hugs and like no one's offering hugs, so then you're upset. But if you had just looked for non-hugs at that time, then everything would have been wonderful. So
is the problem that you have like particular things that you want?
Sounds like it, right? In other words, I think what he's saying is like the supply is all there, but you can only get it at certain times. And when your desires don't line up with it, it's going to feel like God is tormenting you.
So what's the? Oh, okay.
I think is that what he's saying?
Right. I keep thinking this is like a Mishnah thing where like, what's the practical advice?
Yeah. Unfortunately, not. Yeah.
Question.
Yeah. Yes.
Or possibility, maybe.
Sure.
Is maybe the Inyan that what's Master Elohim Lebnei Adam is the search for Yisroel?
Say that one more time. Sorry.
Is maybe the Inyan that he's talking about here the search for Yisroel?
Yes, that could be. Did he define Inyan, or did he say that it was davar? Oh, he just says it's the davar. Yeah, I think that doesn't work for him because it sounds like he's saying, well, I don't know, lihish tamishbo, to utilize it, velasos ozobchol eshir, to do it at whatever time he wants. I mean, I think it's a good shot for the pasuk. I'm just not
maybe
sure
not
if that's
Yisrael per se, but like going after desires.
yeah. I'm just confused by this lashon of lihish tamishbo velasos ozobchol eshir, to utilize it and to make it or to do it whenever he wants. I think I still think he's talking about all the things above. I mean, I know he says hadavar. Let's go on to the next one. Es hakol asa yafa bito. Kol mashbarav asa kadosh baruch hu ba'olamo hakol yafe. Everything that Hakadosh Baruch Hu made in his world is I just lost my place. Oh, everything is beautiful. Right. Did I read that twice, or did he use that phrase earlier? No, he said that earlier. Right. So that's the point we made also, right? That everything is good, but you got to use it at the right time. And then gam es olam. So he learns it as olam in the rabbinic usage. Gam kol darchei olam v'toalosav nasan b'lev b'nei adam l'havinam ad tachliso im ya'miku b'haskel rav. All the ways of the world and its benefits he gave into the heart of man to understand to the utmost if he goes deep enough with his mind. Mibli, without, Rotzlomar milvad zos asher lo mata ha'adam dayav chachma ladas lahavin esamase. That aside from this, milvad zos lo mata ha'adam dayav chachma, man has not found enough chachma to understand and to know the actions of God. Merosh v'ad sof. Even if he gets a little bit of it, so it sounds like he's saying God gave man the ability to know all the benefits of the world, but he can't actually do it. Like he can't actually complete it because he doesn't have enough chachma.
Wait, I don't. Those seem like opposites.
Yes, they do. Yeah.
Wait, what? Wait, no.
Yeah, I don't know if he's pointing out a new problem.
Wait, he gave us the knowledge.
He gave us the. I see. I'm understanding it as capacity. He gave us the capacity to know all this stuff.
But didn't.
Meaning, like man's mind can, in theory, figure out everything.
Okay.
And derive all the benefits, but he's not going to be able to do that.
Got it.
Yeah.
So why not?
What was that?
Why not?
I just don't think that you have enough time.
Okay.
Or can't go deep enough, like into everything. I mean, I'm saying, you know.
In theory, your mind is capable of
Yeah.
understanding it.
Yeah. So is this pointing out a new problem?
Maybe it goes back
Does this have to do with the ace thing?
I would hope so. I don't quite see it. Yeah, if someone could connect that would be that was where I my understanding fell apart because I couldn't see how it connected to the ace thing.
I mean, maybe you can't understand like when, or you can't know when these things are going to pop up. Like that's kind of the problem. Like the lack of knowledge is like when it's going to be a good time to cry or laugh or whatever.
And if you could, then God gave you the tools to prepare for it, but you just can't because you don't know the time.
Right.
That's an interesting idea. So I mean, what's sounding like to me is like that sounds like part of the torment here.
Right.
Right.
You can't prepare for.
Yeah. Yeah. God gave you all the tools, but yet everything has its time, and like you're going to be running around trying to like get everything, but as it comes up, but like you didn't have enough time for that to prepare for that. Hold on, this is going to distract me. I'm just going to pause. Okay. Okay. So okay. So let's work with that hypothesis that he's further lamenting the fact that the ace problem. Okay. That you want different things at different times, and you could get the benefits by using your mind and applying it to the thing, but practically it's not going to work out because there's too much stuff to know, and you can't go deep enough into everything. Yeah. All right, let's try that. Okay, next we're at 12, right? Yadati ki ein tov bank im l'smoch v'lasos tov b'chayav. Okay, so now we're approaching one of our questions. Is what's the difference between this time saying this and then the time in chapter 2 saying this? Yadati Ani hine hiskalti ladas darche ha'olam v'tolosav. I have used my mind to know the ways of the world and its benefits. Sounds like what he did in chapter 3, right? When he built all the stuff. He was using his mind to like reap all the benefits.
Chapter 3 or phase 3?
Sorry, sorry. Phase 3, you're right. Phase 3. Vehin yadati she'ein tov me'ushar b'vnei adam ki'im mi shedarcho lismoch v'lasos tov chesed tzedakah ba'od shu chai. And I knew that there's no good and happiness for man except to someone whose way is to rejoice and to do good and chesed and tzedakah while he was alive. So that's, I guess, what the Metzudas concluded from chapter 2 at the end of the experiment, right? That was what we read last time.
I see.
Okay. All right, now, so that's not anything new. He's just referencing back to his previous experience. V'gam kol adam sheyochav v'shosav ra'atov b'chol malo matas alkim hi. V'gam kol adam af mi shelo hiskil zos midato im tivo hita es levavo sheyochav yishtav v'yos tov. Even someone who did not apply his mind, or did not understand this with his mind, but only it is in his nature inclined his heart to eat and drink and to enjoy good, to see good, to do good. Okay, so in other words, this guy didn't figure it out like Shlomo did with the experiment, but he was naturally motivated to do this. Matas, it is a gift. Zehu matana min hamakom baruch hu asher huchzak. Sorry, huchak. Is that what yours says? Yeah. Huchakin b'divo, that it's been engraved. It's just a weird way to say it. I thought it was nechkak, right? Huchakin b'divo, that it was engraved that way in his nature. So what? Yeah. So he's saying you got two types of guys who are realize that you should eat, drink, and do good. The guy who reached that as a result of his investigations, and the guy who's like that way by nature.
I see.
But I don't know what his point is. Okay, let's continue to get the big picture. 3 more. 2 more psukim. Yadati ki kol asher yaseh ha'elokim hu yehiye la'olam. Hu alav ein lahosif umimenu ein ligrov ha'elokim asa shiur milafanav. Hu yehiye la'olam kazeh shiur shehigilhu. In accordance with the measure that he set for it. Alav, I don't know what shiur he's talking about. Alzeh means alzeh. Vashir ein biad mi lahosif ein biad mi ligroa ulahafkis mimenu. You can't adjust the shiur. I don't know what shiur. Ha'elokim asa, and God made. Amna masha asa ha'elokim bazeh shiur lo asahu kain lakavanas to alto. That which God made in this measure, he did not make for the lakavanas to alto, for the intent of its benefit. Im laman yiru habrios milafanav, but only in order that his creatures fear him. V'lo yamru piv, and not rebel against him. V'rach bazeh shiur hu mevo el hayira. Only in this measure is a entryway into fear. V'lo b'shir zulasa, and not in shiur, the shiur of another. Im ki anachnu lo nada'ehu zehu mikotzer dehadas. And if we don't know it, that's because of our deficient knowledge. That's how I feel about the Metzudas. Yeah, I don't understand what he's saying either.
Maybe the shiur of the matana.
Oh, that is the last thing he referred to, right? Maybe. Let's do one more, and then we'll try to put it together. Masha haya kvarhu v'asher lios kvar haya v'hakim yivakesh es nirdav. Masha haya kvarhu, masha haya me'az kvarhu asui. That which was from before was already made. V'ein lahashiv, and you can't return it or restore it. I don't know. Rotzlamar im mi radaf achar chavero v'asa imo ra. Someone's chasing his friend to do harm and did harm to him. Masha asa asui. That which is done is done. Vasher lios, and that which will to be chen asher asid lios od ba'achrona shiudach mi achar chavero la'asos imo ra. So if a guy's going to chase after his friend in the future, kvar ha'gzera terem asoso via koach biad al hashlim chefzo. What is this gzera? The gzera was before it was done, and yihi hakoach biado, he will have the power l'hashlim chefzo, to fulfill his desire. V'ha'elokim, and God, but God will pursue the guy who will seek the guy who was pursued and exact punishment from the rodef.
Is that related to test 9? This sounds like he's getting to Mishnah.
Yeah. Oh, so maybe he is learning it related to that. Yeah, that would fit. Man, this is hard. Yeah. Okay, so let's take stock of what we have. We have the ace thing down. People want different things at different times, and it'll often happen that you're toiling in vain. Okay, that's the part we have solid. Then we have that God gave this thing to a person to use, but it's as if he's tormenting him with it. Because if you did it in the right time, it would have been good for you, but you're doing it in the wrong time. So we're theorizing that is referring to these particular things that were listed in the ace section. Isaiah was theorizing maybe it's referring to like the drive for Yisron. Then we have the point about God giving man the ability to know all the stuff, but man practically can't know it. Mibli asher, what was it? Mibli asher, Yimsa as hamasa asher asa elokim mirosh v'atzov. Man doesn't have the ability to find what God did from beginning to end. Okay. And then we have these parts that we don't understand. The shiur. Well, sorry. So we have the repetition of the conclusion from chapter 2, right? Which was unclear why he said it, but he is saying it was a repetition, right? That he examined and he found this. Yeah. What?
I just don't even know.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes like when you're thinking and then you realize after a little bit, nothing just happened in my head.
Yeah. Well, do you want the other half approach from Ibn Ezra, or do you want to work on this? We got 15 minutes.
Are we starting ending at 7:40?
No, this time we're ending in normal time, 7:55.
We could.
So much harder to think about this than Mishlei, right?
Yeah.
Part of it is because he's making an argument here. Like this is figuring, like it's a step-by-step argument in a way,
right?
And that's why like many Mefarshim overtly put it in those like in a very rigid step-by-step. Like here's the premise, here's the thing, format. That's why I haven't touched the Ralbag. The Ralbag on this is like treats it as like a philosophical discourse, and like everything is like its own step.
Does that go against the experiment view?
No, I think he like he's essentially taking that approach throughout the entire book, Like I thought this, and then I did, and then I saw that wasn't true for this reason.
I had a thought of Pasuk Days.
Sure.
Maybe he's putting that forward as a contrast, like I said, up till then. Meaning that all the particulars he mentions, if you try and chase them, you're going to be tormented because you can't figure out when is the right time to use it. However, this pattern of life, the small classes to the high, that's a pattern that can actually work.
Because no matter what happens, that's a good idea. Yes, it is. Indeed. Yeah, that's good.
Sorry, I couldn't hear it completely.
Sorry. So Yaakov said that Pasuk Yud Beis is the counterpoint to the point he made up until then. So the point he made up until then is if you make your life about, if you're a peacenik, as they used to say, right? You make your whole life about finding peace or making peace. So then there might be a time for war, and then there goes your job, and so on. So that approach is not going to work of trying to make your life about particular chafatzim. But if you make your life about lismoach v'lasos tov b'chayav, so then that'll work out no matter what's happening, and your desires, are going to be less relevant because you're essentially like training your desires to be able to rejoice in whatever this is the time for.
Why Leos Tov? What is that?
So Leos Tov. Wait. Oh, I'm saying. Let me just look at this again. Lasos Tov.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, not Leos. Yeah.
Yeah. Why that?
Well, so this is what we noted last time, that the Metzudas Dovid said Lasos Tov means to do chesed and tzedakah, and then the Rashbam really just seemed to say, like, he was the most opposite extreme, and somewhat the Ibn Ezra also, just like enjoying yourself, you know. I mean, and in both Lashonos are different. Last time we said Hera es nafsho tov. This one is Lasos Tov. Lasos Tov definitely sounds more like Metzudas Dovid, right?
Right.
So you're saying, how does that fit in to the Sameach B'chelko thing?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can answer it, but the problem is it sounds like a much broader, more sophisticated view of Sameach B'chelko than the eat and drink type thing that he indicated before. You know, like at the end of chapter 2, that was much more of like a enjoy the physical possessions that you have.
But that's not going to work either now, because that you can lose that.
Yeah, theoretically it could work,
Mhm.
right? Because if you're, you know, there's a time for houses, and then there's a time for homelessness. You know, that's an extreme example, but like there's a, you know, like if you truly are Sameach B'chelko, then you'll be able to be happy in these different things.
Right, but not the eating and the drinking, because there's a time for food and a time for no food.
Yeah, and therefore what?
So therefore, eating and drinking isn't going to be. It is not the answer.
Right.
Like that's not the thing.
So I mean, are you asking why is he then? I'm not getting your question.
Well, not according to the Metzudas Dovid, but if
Yeah.
you say Lasos Tov means like enjoying yourself,
Yeah.
doing like eating and drinking,
Yeah.
then why is that different than any of the things in the list?
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Like that sometimes.
Right, that's true. That's true.
Not.
Good point.
I had a thought about Yud Aleph, I think.
Okay.
Maybe the way the pasuk is unified is he's saying that there exists a time in which for everything, and it would be good if it was done at that time. But a person isn't given enough chachma to know all the times for everything, and so they'll mess up and do things at the wrong time. They won't understand, you know, things about the universe, and so it won't be good for them.
That fits in smoother to the pshat, I think, than the Metzudas Dovid's. Yeah.
That one.
That a person doesn't know the proper times to do things. You know, I think the thing that forced the Metzudas Dovid to take his approach is he learned Olam as the world, and that's what made him say the ways of the world, and saying God gave man the ability in his mind to know the ways of the world.
I mean,
yeah.
I think it makes sense that it's not just like man's actions per se, because the first of the time for this, time for that was a time to be born and a time to die.
Yeah.
Which is not necessarily like something you do. So maybe there's sort of more of a understanding more about the world than just like how to act.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. All right, you know, executive decision. I'm going to show you the Ibn Ezra now, just so that we have that as an alternative. And I printed out enough for everyone here, and then I'll put it on the screen. This is with the English. We're not going to read all of it, just select parts. And I'll put it on the screen here.
Did you say the section goes until 15 or until 12?
So he says, he's where I got it from, I think. Let's see. We'll see. Okay, so he says, so he gives two answers which he rejects. And pick it up at Vahanachon in the Hebrew, which is the third paragraph on the first pasuk. Vahanachon sheyesh l'chol chayfetz takas hashamayim es uzman. There is for every desire under the heavens a time. Ki behishaches hamaskones hamolida yamus hayilod v'tischadesh maskones ta'ashirenu. Or is that not on there?
No, it's possible.
Oh, okay.
Already.
Yeah. Isn't that one of them?
Yes.
In the Aces? Ace la abed. Ace la vakesh, ace la abed. There's a time to find and a time to lose. I'm just making.
Ah.
Yeah. Okay.
I gotta see that here.
Yeah. Okay. See, this is where we need the English here. The correct interpretation of our verse, which is, if you look at that, that's a beginning of a paragraph. The correct interpretation of our verse is: there's a season and a time for everything that occurs under the heaven. For when the constellation of stars which begets ceases to exist, then so does that which it gives birth to. When the arrangement of the stars that enriches is renewed, then a person will be wealthy. The reverse is also the case, for the seasons are set. When the season comes around, the person moves to what has been prepared for him. The person's movements are like the movements of the form, and that's where I lose him. Okay, but so what he ends up learning this about is, Ibn Ezra was a big astrologist, right? And he believed that was a real science, and he wrote lots of astrology treatises and stuff. So he's saying basically that there are all of these things are determined by the stars. Okay, and he if you just skim through his examples, so look at Pasuk Beis. This is talking about the beginning and end of man. And he says, Gam Amar ki ein. Yeah, sorry. Ki ein. I've actually never printed a booklet from Al Torah before, so I don't know if it printed in a confusing way. Gam Amar ki ein ha'itim ktuvos al ben Adam levado ki hine hanatiim kainhem. So this is not just talking about people. This is also talking about plants, which I guess he's referring to. The second half of that pasuk, right? Is latas ves la natua. So he's talking about all the phenomena in the world are subject to like the stars, okay? And then he goes on and he explains more of them, healing and crying. This one I thought was interesting. Look at number 5, pasuk hey. Is lahashlich afilu shemikre hamikre yesh lo es. Even chance occurrences have a time. So if you get annoyed by a stone, okay, I don't know if it's like you trip on it or something, then you throw it, okay, and is knos osam hamushlachim letzorcho. Sometimes you need stones, so you gather them again, So like, so he's saying like all of that stuff is also set up by the stars. And now let's see what the upshot is. Go to test now. I don't know what page that is in your thing.
3.
3. Okay, thanks. Ma Yisron, Achar Shekol Hadvarim Tulim Be'esu Zman. Since all these things are dependent on a time and a Zman, Ma Yisron Ish B'chol Amalo. What advantage is there for a man in all of his toil? She talking Shetavo Es Tashkis Amalo V'Tasur Hona V'Tishar Rekam. So what could happen is you could work for all this stuff, but then the time comes, like there was a hurricane scheduled, and it destroys your whole house. So like, what's the point?
Why did I gather all those stones?
Yeah.
Throw away all this.
So I took that to mean, and he goes on. Let me just see, because we're gonna end soon.
Talks about Olam.
Yeah, that was the Olam that I read. I think the one I read before. Inyan gamas Olam nasam libam. Shibnei Adam hemis askim kilu yichyu leolam. Before he's askam lo yavinu masa elokim mirosh v'adsof. That people toil as though they occupy themselves as though they're going to live forever, but because of their toiling, they're working. They don't understand the action of God from beginning to end. And then yesh mefarshim kizeh olam k'moshehu b'lashon kadmonenu zichron libracha v'inyan tavas olam. But where does he say the upshot though? Well, up until this point, what I'm seeing is like this: is according to him, he's not bemoaning the fact that you have different desires at different times. It's that everything in the world is determined by forces beyond your control. And therefore you could work for a lot of stuff and then like it just gets destroyed, and that's what he's bemoaning. So I thought that ended up being a different starting point to lead to this conclusion of Sameach B'Chelko. That one's much more stoic also, right? I mean, the inability to control the circumstances.
Yeah.
And he says, hold on a second. Yeah, I don't know. All right. So that's what I got. So I guess let's have this plan here. I'm going to try working on it again between now and Thursday. And either we'll succeed or we'll fail. All right. That's how this goes.
Time to succeed and time to fail.
Yes. I warned you once we got into this territory, it's going to be rough. It's going to be work. We're going to have to work at this. So we'll see what happens. I think it's a good place to stop for tonight, though.
Okay.
All righty.
Great. Thank you.
See ya.
Thank you.
Thank you.